Have you ever tried to find the perfect item, whether it's a piece of jewelry, a decoration for your home, or even something as simple as a knickknack, but you can't find anything that's just right? It's happened to all of us, including me, but luckily there is a way to make a wide range of items to perfectly fit your liking using resin. Resin gives you the perfect opportunity to create things in your style and give you total creative freedom. After months of using and experimenting with resin and making dozens of different items, I have found out that resin can be easily learned by anybody and give you a whole new perspective on art. Today, I will be talking about what resin is and what it's for, what supplies you need in order to use resin, and how to use your supplies and resin to make your perfect item. So, what even is resin? Resin is a plastic-like polymer that can either be poured into a mold or used as a sealant on a painting, like this painting I have on this water bottle right here. There are two different types of resin. The first type of resin you have cures over time. Usually with this type of resin, you will see two different components, a monomer and a catalyst. When these two are mixed together, they create your polymer that will be poured into a mold and cure over time. The second kind of resin you have is UV resin. Usually this will be used on smaller items like jewelry and cures either under sunlight UV rays or a UV light. This will not cure over time. So, what kind of supplies do you need in order to use resin? There are 4 different types of supplies that you're going to need. You're going to need protective gear, you're going to need pouring and mixing devices, you're going to need color and decoration, and you're going to need molds in order to pour your resin into. So for protection, what do you need? You're going to need gloves. I recommend disposable gloves that will protect you from skin irritation and chemical burns. Next, you're going to need protective eyewear. A simple pair of glasses can also work for your protective eyewear. Now you're going to also need a messy safe space, like this table I have right here, that you can get your resin on and make messy without worrying about ruining any of your furniture. You're also going to need a well-ventilated area, either a large room or an area near a window, in order to keep toxic fumes from going into your lungs. You can also use a mask in order to protect yourself. Now you're going to need something to mix in and mix with. There are 2 different types of cups that you can mix in. You can either use a disposable plastic cup like this one that you use once and throw away, or you can use a silicone cup. This is a measuring cup that you pour your resin into, mix it up, and then once it dries, you can just peel it off and use it again. Now, I recommend disposable mixing sticks for mixing, like wooden sticks, or maybe even plastic utensils. So next, what you're going to need are your colors and decorations. So how do you color your resin? First, you can use resin dye. Now, resin dye is going to keep your resin clear while also giving it color so that your item will be clear and see-through. Most dyes come in a wide range of colors, and you can mix the dyes together to get your desired color. There is white resin dye that does make your resin a little bit more opaque and lightens the colors that you are using. The second type of way to dye your resin is with mica powder. Mica powder is a fine powder that usually has a shimmer to it that is going to make your resin opaque when you pour it into your mold, so your item will not be see-through when you use mica powder. Now you can also add things like dried flowers, you can use glitter, you can mix in small figurines. Whatever you like, it really only ends with your imagination. The last thing you're going to need when using resin is silicone molds or even silicone mats. Silicone does not stick to resin, so therefore it can easily come out. If you use any other kind of mold, your item will stick to the mold. There are so many different types of molds. There are large molds like this one that create coasters like this one, and there are smaller type of molds like these 2 right here. This is a beach theme, and this has bugs and butterflies. I have this example right here to show you for the beach themed one. It's a little shell, and you can really just create anything you like to. You can buy most of these items either on websites like Amazon or Etsy, and you can also buy them in stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So how do you even use these items that I just showed you? The process for making a resin item starts with mixing your resin, adding your color and your dyes, and then pouring your resin into your mold for it to cure over time. So starting out with mixing your resin, most resins will be equal parts catalyst and monomer to create your polymer. You're going to pour them into your mixing cup, and then you're going to stir them slowly and thoroughly for several minutes in order to avoid creating a lot of bubbles in your resin. You usually want to avoid bubbles when mixing resin. Then you're going to add your dyes, mica powders, and other small decorations. Just a tip, when you're using things like glitter or dried flowers, they are a little heavier in the resin and they will sink to the bottom if you don't mix super thoroughly. So mix as thoroughly as possible. You can use dyes and mica powder, just dye, just mica powder. It really doesn't have an effect on the effectiveness of the resin. Now you're going to take the resin that you just mixed and pour it slowly into your mold to avoid creating more bubbles and also to avoid overflowing your mold. You're going to let that cure over time. If you do see bubbles in your mold, you can use heat, like a lighter or a heat gun. I recommend a heat gun because a lighter can burn your mold. Or you can use isopropyl alcohol to burst the bubbles that are on the surface. Or use a toothpick to bring the stubborn bubbles at the bottom to the top in order to pop them. So today I have shown you what resin is and what it's for, what supplies you're going to need in order to use resin, and how to use those supplies in order to create your perfect item. Using resin gives you an opportunity to make something totally unique and tailored to your style. I can't wait for you to make your own resin projects that are perfect for you. Let yourself be creative and just have fun. Thank you.